I'm starting to think. And we're live. Welcome back to another Corona Geek here, where we talk all about mobile app development using Corona SDK. I'm your host, Charles McKeever, and today we're going to talk about object-oriented programming in Lua, and specifically in Corona, I think. We're going to do that. Is that right, Chris? We're going to talk about Corona?
That is correct. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, so let's do that. Joining us today is the developer of Coronium, Chris Byerley. Also joining us is the roaming gamer Magnificento.
I'm great, but other than that, I'm great.
Yeah, Eric Kincaid is here, also from Questlord, developer of Questlord, and we've got our very own Jason Schroeder. Thank you, Jason. I was like, you know, Schroeder sounded right in my head, but then I had Ricky Schroeder in my head, which is very uncomfortable altogether.
Flashbacks to taunts in elementary school.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'm glad I could bring that up for you.
Silver spoons. You got a train running through your house.
Yeah, right, exactly. Also joining us is Sergey Lurg. Hello, Sergey.
Hi.
And then we've also got Alan. I don't know Alan's last name. Alan, you just have to let me put it in the chat there. But thanks, guys, for joining us and for being here. And I'm excited about this OOP thing because it really comes up a lot. At least I see it kind of bantered around here and there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say about it, Chris. Before we get into that, though, let's do a few things. We got a few announcements, stuff we want to talk about. Let me just open it up to the panel first and say, does anybody here have any announcements that they want to make? Chris, I know you've been working on Coronium. Is there anything you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I was going to see if anybody else wanted to jump in. But yeah, Coronium 1.90 is out and available with now has WebSocket support, so you can kind of tap into it from a browser. And just a bunch of fixes and speed increases. And it's pretty much going to be the last version until V2, which will be out in a little while. I'm going to have a couple other things that I'm releasing in between that. So one of the things is a pub sub server out of Lua, so that's kind of cool.
Oh wow, that's
awesome.
Neat.
I've been testing that; it's been neat.
So when you say that, you know, the being able to connect to it from the browser, give us a kind of an example of, is there a use case for that?
Yeah, people were requesting they wanted to be able to kind of show data to users that was collected through an app, maybe like scores or something. Basically, a way to display some of the information outside of the application. So the easiest way to do that was going to be with WebSockets. So I just went ahead and we implemented that in there, and it's working really cool. It's neat. It gives you a persistent connection too, which is kind of nice. Okay,
well, that's great. Well, you're just rocking right along, man. I can't even believe you're at V2 already. I mean, just
yeah, I'm gonna take a little break, I think, and just work on a few other things. But
no
break.
No break.
No break. I don't think I actually believe him though.
I probably won't.
Yeah, I think you just say that to kind of put us off, and then the next thing you know, you're like, ta-da!
Uh-oh, you're starting to figure out my techniques now.
Yeah, that's the Star Trek model, man. Oh, no, Captain, I can't do that, and it would take too much. And then 15 minutes later, he's like, I fixed it.
You got those pay raises, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
They only got paid. We know that they don't, but
under promise and over deliver. That's right.
There you go.
Love it. Okay, anybody else on the panel got something they want to talk about? No? Sergey?
Jason, go ahead and mention that my latest app was released on Friday for iOS and Android. It's Social Poetry, it's called. I won't get into it. The website is socialpoetryapp.com, and so you can all go there.
I think you should definitely get into it.
Yeah, it looked really good.
You want to get into it?
Like a nice app.
Sure, yeah. Well, I didn't want to hijack the conversation or anything like that. And then I'm actually at the office, so I can't talk for too long.
Yeah.
Still working the day job. But the idea is sort of like the old magnetic poetry kits that you would have seen in coffee houses or when I was a kid back in the 90s and all that. So, it's like that. So you've got words that appear as magnets that you can sort of drag around on your screen, share on Facebook, on Twitter, send an email, that sort of thing. The twist on it, and this is what I think makes it unique, that I didn't see it, there were other magnetic poetry apps in the store, is that it dynamically pulls words from your Facebook account. So in my earliest draft of it, that meant from your wall, meaning words from posts by your friends. Unfortunately, Facebook in April while I was working on it. Decided to put out Graph 2.0 and make that really difficult to get permission from them to have the necessary permission to do that. So what it does now is it pulls from the public pages that you like on Facebook, which still gives you a broad, good assortment of words. What I like about it is every time you fire up the app, you get a different set of words to play with. So it pops in there, you can drag them up, rotate them, change the font, change the color, change the background with a photo. There's 10 stock backgrounds that come in there, but you can also take a photo from your camera, pull one from your library, put them on there, share it. There's also a community gallery option, so what you can do is upload it, and anybody who uses the app then can see it and like it on Facebook. So I'm hoping that there will be some natural audience gathering that way, since it's so integrated and so driven to share. In my earlier draft, it would have tagged anybody whose words were used, and it would have been an awesome way for people to get notified. But oh, hey, thanks. There's the website for it. Yeah, it's been up for a couple of days. It has not set the world on fire, like of course we all dream it will when you release a new app. But I'm trying to get the word out and seeing what's going to happen. But I'm pretty pleased with it. It came together over a number of months, sort of as a back burner project until it picked up steam, and then now it's out there. So I hope y'all give it a try. And then here, I'll punch it into the little console. If you go to social, there's a link there so that you download the app for free, and then you click on the link from that page. It'll open up the app, and it'll automatically unlock the in-app purchase. That's something for free for you guys. So and that uses actually a module that I put up on the Corona forums a couple of months ago as a method for unlocking in-app purchase through URL schemes, which is kind of great. And it's authenticated. So the URL, it checks against a server that you identify, which means that launch party promo in another couple of weeks or month, I'll pull it. And I don't need to push out an update to the App Store. I don't need to do anything. It'll just be a dead link at that point. Oh,
nice. I like that. That's very creative.
And there's a blog post on my site, jasonschroeder.com, where you can get that and download it as a module. I packaged it as a Lua module so you can integrate it with one line of code and a couple of modifications, changing the server that it authenticates and stuff.
See, this is what I love about the Corona community. I love that you've spent a lot of time and effort probably putting that together, and then you just share it out with everybody else. It's huge value. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I hope you guys can check it out.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely go check that out, socialpoetryapp.com, and be sure to watch there's also a video that's inside of the app. Be sure to watch that, because there was lots of little tips on how to use the app that I was like, oh, that's a cool feature. I didn't know that, I didn't realize that was there.
And I apologize that it's me narrating it. Please go tell people. If it makes any money at all, I'm going to hire a voiceover artist.
Well, I thought it was clean and right to the point.
Hey, Jason,
Thanks.
I hate to spoil the fun, but unlocking in-app purchases is against Apple rules behind the App Store mechanism. But I guess it works on Android.
Well, it's what it is. I'm hoping it's a bit of a gray area in the sense that I'm not throwing in my own method. There's not a button in the app. There's not. I mean, that's why it gets through the approval process. Quite frankly, is because it is completely hidden unless you know to have it in there. But it's a great way, I think, for at the very least, if you want to get a game out there to blogs or review sites and you want them to be able to unlock it, because they don't give us, promo codes for in-app purchases. Hopefully they'll change that policy. But, it's a way to sort of get around that and not have to, you see people jump through so many hoops. They release a new version of the app, or they make one, but they don't make it public so that they can use promo codes so that they can send it out. It's just, it's
ridiculous.
It's a bit
if it's well hidden, it's okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, it's well hidden, except now I'm on a video blog that's going to be posted publicly, and there's a blog post on my website, but since only 15 people read that, I think I'm okay.
Hey, I wanted to say,
Let me get my camera back so I know I'm looking at you here, even though it's not like I'm... Okay, so you were talking about Facebook and your trials and tribulations. I don't know if it would be anti-competitive for yourself, but my suggestion is if you have something that you feel other people could benefit from and you could put it into a module, you might be able to also make a few bucks there, or give it away if you want, but you could, a few bucks, because the community is always looking for the next solution for Facebook woes, because it changes so much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'm doing anything particular. I'm just using a standard, Facebook request call, and then I'm parsing the data. So, it drops back a JSON file, which I then decode.
Then, if it's not a lot, if it's not something you feel like you could sell, you might still be able to do a small article on your site, and then use that as a leader into your app.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good call.
Or whatever. I mean, I don't want you to do something that's people like, well, then I could just take that and do your app, right? Or something like it.
You know what? What my app does, frankly, I'm not trying to undersell it. There's nothing particularly, I think it is unique in that there's this social networking aspect to it. But somebody could recreate it. It's not about that, and I don't mind sort of sharing. So yeah, I'll try and whip something up. If anything else drives
It's
site.
not like you're already busy and at work or anything. So I'm not trying to give you more work, but when I heard you say Facebook, I noticed that's a question that keeps coming up in the forums.
I wish I had gotten more on it. I had released it under the version 1.0 at least then. But then that's so short-sighted because then at a certain point later this year, they're just going to cut off access if you're using Graph 1.0 calls.
Right. Yeah.
So it's so I'm hoping, quite frankly, the app might get it. I appealed. I got nowhere with it. But if the app gets enough attention, I think I can say to them, listen, I'm not. Their deal with that, from what I could tell, is that they don't want you to be able to gain access to the full contents of somebody's wall. You might be, unless you are recreating a Facebook client on a platform that doesn't have one, which is silly because I'm not sure the platform exists where there isn't one. But I mean, I said to them, listen, I'm not violating the spirit of what you want to do here. I'm just asking for permission for somebody to grab words from their wall so they can do something fun with it. And it got nowhere. So I modified it, I released it. If I get enough of an audience, maybe I can, find an email of somebody at Facebook and say, listen, I'm not a jerk here. I just want to, do something fun with your platform for your users.
I don't want to start another talk, not like Chris get going, but I don't understand with regards to Facebook why, one, they're changing so damn much. So darn tootin' much.
No, it's damn much.
Rewind. And, why it's just like this constant trash. So Corona gets beaten up for it when it's really Facebook.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of posts on the forums. Why do I have to log in twice? What are you guys doing? It's like, well, we're not doing anything. That's just basically.
Right, exactly. I'm not even going to get started on why they always assume that Corona was the one that made the mistake.
Yeah, well, Facebook has been a big thorn, and we've internally been like, okay, who's the go-to person on this topic, because you could you could have multiple people spending lots of time trying to understand and keep up with the changes, and it's better just to have one person that can at least know what's going on and then reference them, one internal oracle.
I don't understand why Facebook is screwing things up. It's just because they're trying to prevent abusing Facebook, so people are not frustrated with all the ads and invites and sharing.
That's the line, but they're just trying to monetize. I mean, it's the same reason now that you put a post up, you have people that click on you, say I like you, say I want to see what you post, but only some of them are going to see what you post unless you pay to promote it.
Right.
I guess when you've got 2 billion followers, you get to make the rules. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's a fair point. I think we forget too that they were making all this stuff up as they went along anyway, right? Social media really didn't exist in the form that we know it today, and it's changed over time, and APIs change and blah blah blah, and you can't be backwards compatible forever, at least.
Well,
I mean,
they're public
big...
now. Now they have a responsibility to their shareholders, whereas they didn't before.
Right. Exactly. So it's all good. It's all good. It's just part of it. So thanks.
But
Thanks.
they provided a good platform for my app, so you all should go check it out.
Yeah, I definitely. And I said this in Twitter, and I'll say it again. I really enjoy the elegant simplicity of your app. You know, the user interface doesn't get in the way, and everything's pretty intuitive. And there's not a lot of. I mean, it's just you and the device interacting together, and I really like that. I think that's.
That means a lot. Thank you.
I have a huge appreciation for those types of design aesthetics, I guess you could call it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
I think Chris summed it up a week or so ago that he tries to make things as simple as possible, and we don't actually, he doesn't. At least I said so. You don't get you don't get excited about trying to make things as complicated as possible. And he's like, no, be proud of yourself for making it very simple.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, Sergey, do you have anything you want to throw in? Any announcements or anything?
Besides Lua workshop at Moscow, nothing.
Yeah, is that coming up or is that already happened? I forgot.
It's will happen on September 12th or 13th, somewhere there.
Okay.
So if you will be in Moscow, come on.
Absolutely, yeah. Sergey's going to be speaking there, and so you'll be a good opportunity to meet face to face. I know this weekend I went to a podcasters convention in Dallas, and I got to meet up face to face with Steve Young from mobileappchat.com, and that was a lot of fun. I mean, he and I have talked quite a bit online, but just being in the same space is just very empowering. Just sort of you can't replace face to face interaction totally. All right. Well, let's move on then. I want to get to this object-oriented discussion. There are a few things on the blog. Go check those out. There's a level selection tutorial out there, and there's also an Android widget themes article or tutorial out there, so go check those out. Those will get you everything you need to know. And then also there is a blog post about questions from the forums. So there's some good questions in that as well. So go check out the blog, coronalabs.com/blog. All right. So, Chris, tell us about object-oriented character class development.
I tried to think of the most complicated title I could.
OOPCC.
I did want to point out in the chat here on the side, Alan Freese had mentioned that he just released a new app, so I think it'd be fair for us to, if you want to link that in your notes later.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, we will do that for sure. And I can take a look at it while you're talking, and maybe we can circle back around here in a minute.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll try to get it as far as we can into this. Obviously the whole idea of object-oriented scripting is a large topic, so I'm going to try to just do the simplest I can. But basically, I'm going to be focusing kind of on how to build character classes for games, and so this specifically would probably work best for like an RPG or different types of games that have characters, enemies, and that might have different types of weaponry, let's say. This is kind of based off of a...
Nope. You still there?
Uh-oh. 2 seconds into oop and crash. Oop turned into oops.
Nice. Chris, if you're there, we can't hear you.
Ta-da!
All right, so I'm going to review Alan Freese's app. Are you back, Chris?
I think so. Am I here?
Well, you're doing the robot at the moment.
Doing the robot.
I'm still dropping out a little.
You were perfect there until you got going, and I don't know what happened.
I think I was talking too fast.
Just solar flares.
Crashed the whole system.
You filled up the buffer.
Overflowed the buffer.
Nice.
So,
all right, well, go ahead.
Are we going to try again here? All right, we'll make this quick. I'm going to just jump right into it. Basically, this is a shorter version of a tutorial I have on my website, but I'm going to be updating it using a new object-oriented framework I found called 30log, and it's written by a gentleman named Roland, and he's a big Lua guy, so if you want to check him out on Twitter, you should. I think his link has been going around. So I'm going to switch over to screen share here and start running through some of this, and we can just take a look at how it works.
Excellent.
Let me do some screen juggling here.
Okay. While you're doing that, so Alan's app was called Twurf, TWURF, and it looks like maybe if you can get him on here in a little bit, maybe we can talk about it. But it looks like it is for doing selfies. It says here, let me just read the description. It says, "You're not a selfie. You're a human being with more interesting story inside than the one you show outside. Twurf is an app you use to tell your story. Simplifying the expression that matches your feeling and let yourself be the real anonymous you." So there's it looks like it's got some badges and stickers and things like that. So imagine taking a picture. I think you did this actually today, Chris. You took a picture and you put the Corona Geek head on it. So I thought that was funny. Alan, can you say what it's about real quick? No mic. All right, no mic. Okay, so yeah, so basically it's like stickers for your photos. So it looks fun. It looks really fun.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, hey, hi everybody.
How's it going?
That's going good. So basically, this was an idea that one of our students. So on the side note, we teach kids how to make video games at a company we own called GameBot School. And we're actually teaching a Corona class that'll come up in the fall. And basically, this is an idea that one of our parents had, one of the students' parents. And it was something that he had been kind of playing around with for, I guess, months before he came to us and said, "Hey, can you guys make this?" And we said, "Sure. We could do something using Corona." And I was really just surprised how quickly we were actually able to make it using Corona.
I love the art style.
Yeah, that was one of the big pushes that he had. I mean, he has a very distinct art style. It's something that we'd like to get other artists in later on, but the initial round was just his art.
I think it's hilarious. I definitely will be using this for sure. I love it.
Yeah.
Look
basically just a social picture app. You put. There was kind of a meme kind of going around a little while ago where people were putting kind of post-it notes over photos and things like that. So it's basically kind of an electronic version of that. Where you kind of have you take a picture, you put a little caption in there, and then you post an image that a pre-done image, so you don't have to be an artist or anything like that. You just have to kind of choose one of the crazy faces on there.
I think it's a genius idea. I think it's a genius idea. That's so we're so visually driven with images and everything these days, and people are wanting to do mashups and create their own stuff. That this just seems to fit right in with what's going on. So. Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
It was a very interesting project. It was kind of the biggest Corona thing that we've done since then, and trying to use Facebook and Twitter integration and things like that. And, at least from our perspective, we were kind of pushing the boundaries of what we had done in the past using Corona. Because we did produce another app previously. It's more of a teaching app for our students called Whack-A-Ghost, and it just had a basic game loop and things like that in here. But this was more like a full-featured thing with Twitter integration and stuff. So.
Sweet, great job. I love it. We'll definitely link up to that in the show notes. Maybe I'll get us a picture that we can include in the blog post just to
Excellent.
All right, Chris, are you're all set there? You still with us?
Yeah. I also noticed Roland just joined the group here, and he is the creator of 30log. I'm not sure if he has any mic on or anything, but
awesome. Welcome to the conversation. I was hoping that he would be able to join us, but I wasn't sure.
So I don't know if he has a mic, but hopefully I won't mess up his beautiful work here too much as I try to explain it. So basically, what I'm going to go through, I'm not going to go through every feature in 30log, but I highly recommend that you go check this site out and take a look at all the neat things you can do. 30log, the reason that there are a couple OOP libraries for Lua, and the reason I was most attracted to 30log is just because, again, it's simple. When it's the minified framework is 30 entire lines of Lua, which is pretty amazing for what you get out of it. but it does have some neat principles and some powerful features. You know, you can kind of take it as far as you want. So again, I'm going to kind of just stay on the surface of it, but get in there and read on it. It's again very simple and it's very effective. So as we go through time here, we'll see how far we get. I have a finished project that I've already built out that I could post somewhere later if anybody wants all the files. But generally, just at first here, I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning.
Okay, and we have plenty of time, so take all the time you need. I know you originally, when you did this tutorial or whatnot, it's on your blog. I think it's written in 5 pieces, so there's certainly a lot of.
Yeah, I won't be going into all of it, but we'll just. I just want to kind of impart the general idea. The character classes aspect of it is just kind of a neat way to present the topic. But this is more just about the power of object-oriented scripting and how it can be very useful for your games. And again, you know, this could be a chess game. It doesn't have to be an RPG. It could be any type of thing. It doesn't have to be a game, but just kind of understanding the concepts of OOP and how to build a framework is important and can be extremely helpful, especially as projects get large. So the first thing is that 30log has a couple different versions, different ways you can require it with your system. So I'm going to go ahead and, if I'm on the site here, I'm going to download the zip to my desktop. And let me grab that. And inside this folder, there is a couple different, 3 different versions here of the 30log. And this one here, just the plain 30log, is the actual minified one, so you can kind of see just how small this thing is. It's just a little tiny piece of code here. And there's also one called 30log Global, and that's the one that I prefer to use. And I'm sure people are immediately saying, don't use globals in Lua, which is true for the most part. But globals are there, and as long as you're responsible, you can utilize them, and mostly for just creating your environment that you program in. So in this case, I'm going to use the 30log global, which I only have to require once in the main, and then I have access to this new class library now throughout my project. And again, this is using globals in a responsible manner. I'm not trying to throw my variables in there or anything like that. I'm just adding to my environment, which is basically what Corona does anyways. They add their modules and whatnot to that environment. So we start with that, and then basically what you want to do when you're working with OOP is you want to think about the kind of the general properties and methods that you would be utilizing for your objects. So in the case, you kind of think of a class as kind of like a factory. So if I was to have like an automobile class, it would have things like properties like you know, different speed and also different methods and driving and things like that. And that factory would create these instances of cars. So you really want to try to focus on what would be you want to kind of build upon these classes is how it works. So just to kind of like show it as an example, when we're working with characters, you know, you can have heroes, enemies, all these different types of things here. In RPG land, most often there's some common functionality and some common properties that will be spread across all of your different game entities, even weapons and these kind of things. Almost all of them have some type of health aspect, usually a name of some type, etc. So what you want to do is you want to build what's called well, what I'm going to do here is build a character superclass, and basically this is going to kind of hold some of the most general things that will be used across all of the different game entities. So in the case of this one, just to make it easy, we'll cover the name of the actual entity. Health is something that's used pretty much on everything. Weapons sometimes can have damage to them, which kind of like they lose their strength over time. You don't always have to do that, but you see that a lot in RPG games and things like that. So to do this, it's pretty simple. The setup, once you do a class once, you pretty much have figured out how to build it every time. So that's kind of nice. But so what we'll do first is it's very similar to building like a module, basically. And this is, hopefully I'm doing this correctly. I might be corrected, but this is how I've been doing it. And so what we want to do is we want to build a character superclass. So again, I have 30log is now globally available throughout all of my code because of that main global that I required at the very beginning. So Now I can just simply say class, and this is the global. This class method here now is global. And now I have a new class, basically. And again, all this is documented on the website, so I'm going to go kind of quick. You also want to be able to give your class some type of name so that you can reference it later when you print it out, and I'll show you that in a second too. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Let me just save this real quick. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be kind of blasting to this quick, so I will hit as well once we're all done here. So this is kind of the first setup. We're saying, hey, I want this character to be a class, and then that gives it all the power of 30 log. We give it a name to kind of give it an identifier. You don't have to do this, but it's recommended that you do. And then I'm just going to jump down to the bottom here, and we're just going to return this character factory. Is what I like to call it, just a class factory, or you can just call it that. Whatever works for you. Because what's going to happen is now we're going to create new instances from this class and also extend this class to be able to have different, so that we can adjust the methods and things like that inside of this class, which will make more sense as we go. So the other thing that you can do is every time you create a class, you can initialize it. And so we need to add the initialization function. And again, this is all just very standard stuff that you'll do every time. So make sure I do this right. So this is a function that we add to the character class called it's two underlines and then the init. And so this is now our basic setup for the character class. Now, when I said that we would want to utilize some common functionality in this class, the one thing I did talk about was using a name, and then we're going to use health as some common. Basically, now any character that we create, and even any subclass we create from this character, will have at minimum a name and a health property. And once we do it here, we don't have to do it every single time. And also, what makes it powerful is when further down the line, as you'll see, is that if we need to change something that needs to affect all of our characters or even all of our game entities, it's very simple to do that because we have this kind of hierarchy of these classes, and the character class will kind of be that base class or the super class. So what I want to do here then is just to take these properties in. This is all very standard looking stuff if you've made modules or anything. It's in there. Okay, so we have that. So we're done with that for now. And it's common to capitalize your classes. It's a good way to kind of to denote that it is a class. So now we have this factory here. Now we're going to look at creating a hero class and an enemy class. And though they are very similar, we want to be able to do different things with them. And I like to make it easier, and this is called subclassing. So we're going to create a subclass from this character class. So the first one we'll make is a hero class. I'm going to name it hero, and again I'm capitalizing that. And in this case now I'm going to local hero, and we are going to extend the character class which we just made. And to do that we pop in this extends. And then again, this is a factory, so we're going to return this factory back, and this will kind of all start to make sense here in a second. And from our hero class here in the initialization function, so that was a function hero. With that, and we need to pass in a name and the health, because when we create this new hero, we want to be able to customize them. And here, your game may only have one hero, but it could be a multiplayer game. It could be a game that has multiple heroes. So you want to be able to customize each one as you build it out. So we do this here. Now the secret is now, since this hero is extending this character class, we need to also make sure that we can get this information back up to this character class so that we can utilize it. So to do that, we make a call called hero. And we're going to go into the super class and call the init on the super class, and we're going to pass the self, which is this instance, the name, and the health. Okay, so once that's done now, that's it for the hero class. Now, when we create a hero, we're going to pass a name and a health rating, and then that's going to also call up to this class and go ahead and set this. And so now we're starting to create this hierarchy. So if I wanted to change something up into here in this character class, like say I'm going to add a method or something, it automatically will become available to this hero class without me having to rewrite it in here. I can just utilize it. And we'll do just that. What we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll add in a character hit method, and we'll say for amount. This would be like the amount that we get hit for our damage. And then let's just add a couple other ones here while we're here. Heal for amount. Again, there's many different ways to do this. This is just I've learned over time here. And then let's do an attack so that we have an attack we use. And we're also going to pass in another character here, which will make sense in a second, on our attack function, on our attack method. And now the character class has this hit method, a heal method, and an attack method. And because we've added this to this character class, now this hero also has now taken on these methods as well. So let's go ahead and make an enemy class, and I'm just going to do this simply by doing a copy save as. Because really all it is just a matter of changing some of the naming. So we'll go with enemy. And the reason I'm doing this, you could just use a character and then maybe just throw in a type if you wanted to and things like that, but I'll show you why it's kind of nice to separate out the hero and the enemy class, subclassing the character. Now the enemy because it does extend from the character, has all of these methods as well. So, and then we would pass the name and the health also. So now that we have those built, let's take a look at a little of this in action. First we need to pull in our classes. So we're going to do character, and we just do a require. And then we're going to pull in our enemy. Actually, I'm sorry, we don't need to pull in the character. We only need to, we're just using that to subclass from, so that's already been done. So let's pull in our enemy, and that'll be an enemy. Let's see, all right, and then let's pull in our hero as well. And now we can start to create some actual entities. So again, these are the two classes we've created, the enemy and the hero, and then they are derived and extend this character class. So let's create a hero. So if we wanted to create a hero, we can say we want to create a knight. And then to do that, we would say hero new, and then we pass a name. So we could Carl, since he's our knight. And then the amount of health he has. And so he's got 2,000 health.
You have a very sad kingdom, sir.
Not with that hat. So then let's go in here and add some actual functionality into these methods here. So we're going to say we use the self to reference this instance. So let's say self health equals self.glth minus for amount. And do something similar for the healing method, except in this case we will add to it, and then we will come look at this in just a second. So when you create an instance of
Oh, you still there, Chris? Seems like his screen froze up and his audio went away, so I think maybe we've got another solar flare going on.
Hello?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know why my connection's being so wonky.
It's just because you want to present information.
Of course. Always. So I've added these in here, so let's go ahead, now that we have this functionality, again, because these hero and enemy classes extend this character class, just by putting in this code here now, they have access to that as well. I didn't have to put it in any of these classes. I didn't have to put it in the hero or the enemy. But now if I go over here, I should be able to do some functionality. So if I want the knight to be hit, I can say knight hit, and then let's just give it an arbitrary number. 24, and then we should be able to print out the knight's health, and hopefully it would have decreased, but let's find out.
So I see what's happening here. I thought you were going to escalate or elevate me in my status in the world, but really you're just setting me up to kill me.
Right. Okay. So somewhere here I need to make sure I require this here. Sorry about that. This is what happens when you are trying to do this on the fly. Okay, so we need to bring in our character class because I am extending that class, so I need to bring that in. That was where I kind of made a mistake here. Okay, so we're bringing in our character class because we're going to extend it, so obviously we need a reference here. And then we're going to need to get that reference back over here as well. Class. And then let's give it a shot and see what we get. Where am I at? Hero 1? Oh, save your file. I'm having problems with that lately. I don't know why.
You don't have that Read Your Mind add-on installed?
Yeah, I know. Huh? Okay, so finally we got it working here. If you can see here, the health of the knight is 1976, and that was taking away 24 from that. So again, I didn't have to, that's not in here. That's actually coming from this here, and I can now do something like if I wanted to heal him up, we'll do a heal for 233 or whatever, and then we can print that again, and see what we get. Okay, so then we get our heal here. Now I can do the same thing now if I want to pull an enemy out. Let's just pull a baddie out here. So he's an enemy, and he's new, and he's going to be a bad guy. And then we'll give him some health, and his health will be 400. And then if I want to, do the same thing, I can do a hit on him as well. But we'll look at how to actually attack. So in the character class here, I have this method called attack, and it's taking a character, another character. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically, since we have this hit functionality, we can pull in this character and then just run this hit on him, and then he'll automatically take some health away. So we first want to check to see if this is indeed a character class, because we don't want to run a method that doesn't actually exist on that character. And the way they do that, this is a part of 30log, is you do character. Let's see, I think it's this one right here, character. It's called is. It's a test. Check against character. Then now that'll give me back a true or false. And since I have that now, I want to go ahead and attack this character. So I'm going to say character. I know that he has a hit method on him. We'll do that. And then I'm going to use this is actually gets a little complicated. There's two different instances now at play right now. And so the character that's actually attacking is bringing in this character, and we're going to use our strength, which we don't have yet, but we'll throw some in there, to actually hit this character. So we'll say character hit and for amount. This is going to become the self.strength. So when I add this hero here, actually I'm going to put that, I'm going to put that in this character class here. I'm going to add a new property now called strength, because I want to give everybody a certain amount of strength that they can use to hit with. So we'll put self.strength equal the strength property here. So now let's go back to our hero here, and this is when you do OOP, you're kind of building on to functionality, so it's kind of cool how you can do that, especially with some of these super classes and stuff, because you can make one change or add one method, and you kind of get a sweeping change throughout all of your different subclasses, which is kind of nice. So back here in the main, we're going to hit a new hero, but we want to give him some strength, so let's give him a 15. And so then he should have some strength. Now we have the bad guy, and we are going to attack him. So we'll say hero, attack, and then he will attack the baddie. And when we do this, we should have some type of, hopefully, his health will be taken down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and let's take a look at what happens. So, okay, global hero, Mando, 23. Let me see where I'm at here. Oh, no wonder, knight. I also like to teach debugging as well. Okay, let's run the project. Let's see. There's my form. Oh, it's new. Why does it not like me? This is why I have this done class over here, so I can come here and cheat real quick. So in my character, it doesn't even look like I was using strength in there, was I? I ended up going with the weapon. Okay, well, sorry guys, I'm going to back this up a tad.
I hate when I do that. I when I packed for the podcast conference, I had everything kind of all set up days in advance, and then the day of, I was like, I couldn't find my pants. I was like,
whoa.
Literally, I was like, I went through I unpacked the suitcase looking for the pants that I was going to wear, and come to find out, I had set those aside because I knew that I was going to put those on when I left, and then everything else was already done. So I was very efficient, but I forgot that I was very efficient.
Like, where's my pants?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and what I had done here is the way I was going to show this example is I ended up rewriting it to add a weapon class, and I'm just kind of a little bit concerned about time here, so I'm trying to rush through this fast. But basically what happens is we create a weapons class factory, which is very similar to a lot of the other classes we've already built. And as you notice, we're pulling the class. We have the name here, and then the initialization. This is a very simple class, and this is you can create new weapons off of this. So to do that, let's go ahead and we'll add a weapon here. So we're going to go ahead and we're just we'll do a local. We're going to bring in this weapon factory.
So for anybody who's listening to the podcast, we're about 20 minutes or 15 minutes out. So Chris is just kind of backing out some of the pieces here, putting in the weapons part, and then.
Yeah, and I'll post this on a blog too, so that you can kind of like see it.
Now, is this a modified version of the tutorial that you did? Because I mean, that was pretty in depth.
Yeah, this is a modified version. This is just because within just to kind of do it in a little bit of time. Mostly, I just wanted to show a 30 log, so I really don't need to probably go too far into all this because you kind of get the idea of how you build upon these classes. So again, if I wanted to do a weapon, I could just do a sword and then just do weapon. We would do a new one, and then whatever we want to call it. Could be a wood sword. And this will have a strength rating of 25 or whatnot. And that's what we pass here. Here's the name and the strength. This one here, this weapon, is not extending any classes. It doesn't like the hero and the enemy extend this character class. A weapon, this doesn't extend anything, so we just use it straight in like that. And then once we have that, then we have this ability to use that weapon. If I wanted to, on the knight, what I would do is I would just give this knight a weapon. So I would say weapon equals sword. So now he has this sword. And if we look back in here, in the character class, we can go ahead and, let's see, where did I put that? Character. Okay, so on the character class, I've put a weapon in here, a weapon slot. So basically, you can just attach any type of weapon that you create to this weapon slot. And when you do that, we can take a look. Okay, here's what we're doing here. So now we can see that when we attack this character, it's going to go ahead and pull the strength from that weapon, and that was what we had built over here. So that's this weapon here. It's got this strength. So when the when the character actually attacks this other character, he's going to pull this weapon strength value, and then it runs this hit method, which is built into the character. So that's going to take away from his health. So any instance of that is extending a character is going to have all of this functionality. So it doesn't matter if it's an enemy, it doesn't matter if it's an NPC, it doesn't matter if it's your hero. They all have this ability to wield a weapon and then do this hit, heal, or attack. This is definitely a topic that I realize at this point is way too hard to try to fit into 20 or 30 minutes. So again, I'm going to kind of flesh this out more on a blog piece, but I will post these all these classes. I have the whole project done over here as well, so you can. I'll post that up so you can use that.
Well, I tell you what, I went through before the Hangout and looked.
RPGs and whatnot.
I went through and looked at the 30log documentation that's out on GitHub, and it describes everything that you need to know as far as creating classes and assigning methods and all that kind of stuff and doing inheritance and everything. But you've given us a good practical example of what that might look like. So it's creating the superclass and then creating derivatives of that. So I think this is a good starting point for people, and if they want to go deeper, then we'll definitely have a link in the show notes where they can go and check out everything that you've already detailed. Like I said before, it was a 5-part blog post. So you've definitely done the legwork on this already. So I think this is just enough to kind of get us a taster of how it works. I did have a couple of questions for you, and I want to make sure that we have time for the panel to ask questions as well.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just ask, does anybody on the panel have a question before I ask questions?
Yeah, I do, actually. One of the things I've noticed folks in the forums trying to do is remember I wrote that article about why you don't want to use OOP?
Right.
Well, I didn't mean don't use OOP in your game. What I really meant was don't try to use OOP on display objects.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Right, I mean, it's clear to you and I, but I think some people listening might still think, oh, I can just use this and I can make a circle object and just OOP it. That'll work.
Well, tell us. I mean, Eric asked this question, and I'm interested too. Tell us why. Tell us why we wouldn't want to do that.
Okay. Well, I want somebody to disagree with me because then that means that they'll know how to do it. But the essence of OOP in Lua is based on metatables. Is that right?
Correct.
Basically, it's metatables. And what you're doing is you're using the metatable mechanism to pull in information about a prior table that was created. So you're getting the attributes, you're getting the functions that are attached to it, stuff like that. And that's how you do your inheritance, is you pull in a prior metatable, you grab all that good stuff, you make some changes, and you apply the new metatable to a table object, and it gets all the good stuff. The problem is when you take a Corona display object, let's say you do a new circle, display new circle, and it's got a bunch of methods and fields attached to it, attributes. And then you say, I'm gonna take a metatable. I'm gonna use that metatable operator. I'm gonna slap my metatable on top of that. Great, that works. Except you just wiped out every single method and attribute. Well, all the naturally publicly Lua exposed attributes. All the ones that are in part of the internal data. I can't think of the word for it, but there's some that are like on the C side or the Java side, sort of like hidden from you, or Lua insides. Mm-hmm. My point is that people try to do this over and over, and then they wonder why it doesn't work.
So it doesn't work the way you think it's going to work. So what you're saying is,
the essence of this is metatables. You're basically replacing the magic sauce that tells the thing how to behave. And when you do that with a display object, you just replaced all the Corona magic sauce.
I mean, you can extend that object though. I mean, you could take that metatable and then re-put it into a metatable.
Yeah, I've tried.
I'm not advocating that at all. I wouldn't mess with a pre-built object. I wouldn't mess with an object that's already been created. I'm not advocating that.
I don't think that will work because you can't extend functions. You can only replace them.
Right. Or add new ones.
But you can do tricky things like remember the last reference to the function and call that as part of your call. But it gets ugly really, really fast.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't advocate it in any stretch.
So I just want to back up. The only point I wanted to make was, unless somebody else knows a great way to do it, I think that OOP should be applied to tables in your games, and those tables are supposed to be complex objects, like they're keeping track of some game data or game state or something like that.
Some object you're creating, something.
Not something you're rendering to the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I do the object-oriented stuff, I just do a reference to whatever graphic object I'll be loading in, but I'll do all that separately. I'll just use it as a reference, to the ping that's on that file.
All Corona objects are basically should be properties of the table that you are making OOP on. Or you should not use metatables on display objects and simply extend them with simple properties. This is my preferred way for OOP, but both ways are good.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen other methods of other conversations about how to get OOP into your Corona development, and it seems like those were fairly in-depth or fairly complicated to, one, to kind of implement, and two, to wrap my head around. It seems like this one's pretty straightforward, but like when I looked at the documentation and what you were just demonstrating, it seemed pretty straightforward. Is this something that could be also used with Coronium? I mean, since you provide server-side Lua processing.
Yeah, it's actually how I found the library. I'm using it in version 2, and then also for the pub sub library as well, and the game engine that I'm working on. So.
Oh, well, there you go. So
I was looking for kind of a nice class system, and of course it's like I'm looking for the simplest one I can find. So.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you could create some pretty sophisticated stuff on the device and on the backend server and do cloud processing of your gameplay.
Yeah, what I like about the 30 log is just that he really kept it really clean, so it runs on 5.1, 5.2, and that's you don't have to worry too much. It's not going to break anything.
I think another thing about the 30 log that I like, I've seen a couple of different choices, is that the 30 log has that nice standard initialization function. You can think of it as your constructor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is always nice. There's some other neat things in there too. You should look at it. There's some mix-ins, and then of course you can like set some of the properties ahead of time. So they're like default and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Now there are benefits. Clearly, just like you showed in your example, there were some benefits to doing object-oriented programming. You add additional functionality to the parent class, and then that all becomes available to the children. But what is anybody can throw in on this, but what's your opinion on using OOP versus just procedural programming? I mean, is there a point where you're like, well, I've seen projects where it gets really complicated really quick. Is there a breaking point when you should just say, well, this is just procedural, top-down programming is just good enough for this, or is there a place where you say, well, this would definitely benefit from being an object-oriented project?
I have one funny story. I have been given a project which uses a very complicated object-oriented classes for Lua library, and after starting the project, I realized they don't use much of OOP. They just use this library and think, oh, we're using this library. This is so cool. We are getting it this proper way, and then I simply replace this library with something that returns an empty table, like without any metatables, without anything, and it worked. So nothing broke in the project. So yeah, if you use some library like this, you should understand how to use it and not just for fancy word in your project.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, and if anybody had to reply to that first question, I just want to go ahead. But my concern is that someone will think I'm not doing it the right way, and I'm using air quotes here. I'm not doing it the right way if I'm not doing it this more complicated way. Right?
Yeah.
This more putting another layer on top, because that's only the way that real programmers do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't use classes every single time. I think it's per project, and I noticed that I find them to be most helpful with when you have situations where you're going to have multiple entities of the same type, but you want slight variance between them. I find that to be the good spot to use. But people just use them because they think it's the cool thing to use, but you're not even using them properly. So, yeah, I don't.
So you should probably be using it with a specific intention in mind, knowing that you're solving a problem with it.
Yeah, I think like it's kind of the egg and the chicken kind of thing. It's like
Nope. Chris is he's about to tell us the secrets of the universe right there. The egg and the chicken, and then boom, he's gone. Damn it. I was about to find out why the chicken crossed the road. Come on.
Then he comes back, and all we hear is 42.
Yeah, that's right, 42. And then that's why and then that's when I found my pants.
What you're saying is you're pantless.
Right, exactly.
I was going to try to answer your question there about using OOP and not using OOP.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I agree exactly with what Chris said, which is if you're going to be making like his example, you're going to make an RPG style game or something where you got enemy A and enemy B and enemy C, and they've all got common attributes, then it makes sense to start thinking about OOP. However, as soon as you say OOP and you put it in there, unless you've been doing this for a long time, you're adding complexity to your application. Another thing that I just want to go back to this about the display objects. It's all fine for you to create an extensive OOP library where, let's say, you've got an enemy class and you've got a derived enemy class, and all of these enemy classes are managing a display object that they're keeping track of, moving it to the right place, and all that stuff. But what you've just done is you've created a proxy situation where some other piece of code is responsible for some piece of code somewhere else, and so you've got like these two separated code bits, where it might be simpler if you're new to just say, make a display object, write some code attached to it, go. Instead of trying to remember, okay, I got my object-oriented code over here, and I got my display object code over here, and now I'm just confused because I've only been doing this for 6 months, but I'm ooping.
Whooping it up.
And I draw that question directly from experiences that I've had with other languages that are, the support object-oriented programming, and you go in and try to follow somebody else's code, and it's so normalized, it's so spread out and complicated that you're just like, I just want to change this word.
If understanding it becomes intractable, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Right. So.
But I think OOP. I mean, I'm glad we had this discussion because I wrote that article about not using it. But man, if you're using data-heavy, writing like a business app, or if you're writing a game that's got lots and lots of data or complicated state machines or stuff like that, OOP's the way to go if you understand what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I'm glad you talked about factories and then put some code to that and kind of showed how all that kind of snaps together, because I think a lot of times, just like Ed was talking about, there's a lot of benefits from doing things that are iterative or repetitive, but it gets talked in so these abstract terms, and people talk about making factories and stuff, and it's like, well, I don't know what that looks like, I don't know what does that really mean, and so it's good to have a good practical example of it. And I think 30log is very direct, just like Coronium's very direct, and I'm like, it just makes sense. Corona is very direct, you just kind of once you have the information of how it works, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. So excellent. Well, thank you for going through that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Sorry I didn't have enough time to really get into it, but crunched as much as I could. I'll write this up on a blog too, and hopefully we can get that.
Okay.
Well, next time you can show us all your Coronium code written in with OOP and just just make it magical for us. Okay. I'm playing with you, man. I'm looking forward to the new version of Coronium. I'm getting ready to get hooked in there again. I got that game that I was working. We lost him.
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me there.
In business applications, you can use OOP like for say buttons. Like you have one button that has plain text, another button that has nice animation icon or something like that. Another way that you have pop-up windows or rows for your table view. This all can be applied for OOP.
That's a natural way to use OOP, or as Sergey likes to say, OOP.
OOP. Or as Ed likes to say, OOP. It's like party ooper.
Okay, anyway. But yeah, I love that example, Sergey, because I mean that's exactly the kind of case where you use OOP, right? Make it the core logic of your button class. Perfect.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, well, gentlemen, we're out of time. I think that's it. We'll leave it there for this week. We didn't get to our community questions that we were going to talk about, but we'll do that next week. So be sure to join us back here next Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific, and we will do some more Corona Geek. And until then, have a great week, and happy coding.
You sound a little tired. Did we break your brain there?
No, I am tired. I went to that podcasting thing, man, and I talked
you ruined the ending for Charles again. He doesn't